Hi, this is Morgan Dudley.
Hey, Morgan. So glad to have
Hey,
you. Hey, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Very, very good. Super excited to talk to you. Just really excited about this opportunity. Thank you so much for letting us have it.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited too.
Absolutely. We're talking to the star of Disney Plus Descendants, The Rise of the Red, Morgan Dudley, who is getting ready for a huge year. I guess the rest of it, really, with 2024 coming to a close in a few months. Morgan, you've been super busy. How do you maintain through everything you do?
Lots of coffee, definitely. Lots of caffeine. Um, kind of balancing it out with water. But honestly, I just love doing it all, and so it's not even. It doesn't even feel like work.
And
Truly.
you really do it all. You sing, you dance, you act. You've been on Broadway, Morgan. You've been places performing for people, hundreds and thousands of people in front of you. But I got to ask you a question, Morgan. Was there anything more nerve-wracking in your career than when you performed the national anthem during last year's NBA playoffs in the New York Knicks arena?
Oh my goodness. I'm so glad that that's the performance that you highlighted because absolutely not. I've never been so terrified in my life. It actually wasn't even until I was like halfway through the anthem that I really soaked it in. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm singing the national anthem at Madison Square Garden. And all of these people, like America lies in my hands right now. Like I can't mess this up. This would be devastating for me. But
But you killed
the
it.
crowd was so supportive. It was so much fun and it was worth it.
Yeah, Morgan, you totally killed that. I saw that. I was super impressed. I'm a big NBA fan myself. Are you too? Do you love basketball? What is your favorite sport?
Oh my gosh, I would say that my favorite sport is baseball,
Oh,
actually.
oh, okay, very
I
good.
know.
Has
I'm from Atlanta, so the
oh,
Atlanta Braves,
yeah.
I ride for them.
All right, yeah. Have you gotten the first pitch? Throw out one of those invite yet? Are you looking forward to one of those soon? Hopefully.
I am looking forward to it. As soon as I get back to Georgia, that's going to be the first thing I run to. I'm going to be like, guys, please let me do it.
What's up, Atlanta Braves? Hit your girl up. It's going to be fantastic. Yeah, that's cool. I mean, you were born and raised in Georgia, and are you in New York now, Morgan?
Yeah, I live in New York now.
Oh, that's cool. Do you ever miss home?
I do. I miss home for my family and just for the nostalgia of it all. But I honestly love the city. I love New York. I love all the time I spent in LA, too.
Yeah, it was quite a bit. Yeah, in Georgia, though, it's kind of where you got your beginning. I was fascinated to hear your story, read about it, about how your mom kind of got started in karaoke. She did some Alanis Morissette renditions, and then you end up getting a spot in the acclaimed Broadway show, Jagged Little Pill. Do you still do Alanis Morissette when you have chances to do karaoke, Morgan?
Yes, I do. I sing You Ought to Know any chance that I get, any chance I am allowed.
It's one of my favorite albums, one of my biggest guilty pleasures, front to back. Love that album. I'm a Isn't It Ironic guy. Love Hand in My Pocket, too, so I feel
Yes,
you. I feel you there, definitely.
yes.
That was
Good
cool.
taste.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. What was it like? What was it like to get that role, and how hard did you work for it? Because that was pretty big. You were 20 years old at the time. You got that role, and then all of a sudden you just kind of took off from there, Morgan.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a crazy whirlwind of experiences. I was working at Barnes& and Noble at the time, and I remember just like all I was doing every day on my break was going in the car that I was in and just singing the songs for my audition. And it was so much fun. To me, it felt like I was back in high school theater, honestly, like in the way of like just the excitement that I felt for it and just being surrounded with other people who also love theater. So I think the biggest part of that was just all the nerves. I just couldn't believe it. I was like, for actual Broadway. Yeah, and it just ended up being one of the best experiences I've ever had in my life.
Oh, that's fantastic. She's Disney Plus's Descendants, The Rise of the Red breakout star, Morgan Dudley. We're talking to her. She's got some new music coming out later this month. Morgan, what is the difference between acting on stage and acting in front of a camera? Is there a big difference? Is it a completely different approach that you take when you do both of those things?
Absolutely. It's a huge difference because when you do it on stage, one, you're doing the show from beginning to end. the whole entire thing. So you really get to move through the entire story. And you're performing for people who might be far away from you. And so expressions and things that you want to kind of expressions, you have to make bigger and kind of more obvious to somebody who may be 100 feet away from you. Versus, the camera's right up in your face, so you can really feel it internally and not feel so much pressure to express it on purpose and be intentional with the expression. It's just more about living the experience. And it's not ever filmed in order. So I feel like there's a lot of preparation I have to put my mind in before stepping onto set and filming a scene.
Yeah, that's great advice. Really something good to think about if there's any budding performers out there, for sure. That's a good notion to have. Would you go back to Broadway if you had the chance, Morgan, or are you going to focus totally right now on your music, on your acting, on camera, on screen?
I am just moving where the wind takes me. Right now it's my music, and I'm so, so excited about it. But I would absolutely return back to Broadway, and I would absolutely return to film if ever given an opportunity in which I'm like, oh, I love that show. I would absolutely be ready to take on that role.
Very good. You're in the capital of some of the best stage performances ever. Do you get chances to sneak away between your busy schedule and catch a show here and there on Broadway?
Yes, I do. Especially, I have a lot of friends, obviously, who live outside of New York. And so anytime that, they're coming to New York and they're coming to visit, I'm like, okay, we're going to go watch the show.
Very good.
And it's just so fun to experience with people who don't live here, too, because I'm like, oh, isn't this amazing? And they're like, yes. It's great.
Yeah. What would be the show if I came, if we were friends? I'm going to consider us friends after this, if you don't mind, Morgan. Thank you. What would you recommend to me and to anybody else coming for the first time who's never seen a Broadway or off-Broadway production for that matter? Because there's a ton of theaters in New York that do these things on a daily basis.
Wow. My first suggestion for people who aren't used to theater yet is Anne Juliet on Broadway, because it's a jukebox musical with all of Max Martin's biggest hits. And the book for the show is so incredibly funny. The cast is so energetic, and it's just fun, and it's really, really good. But if I had to suggest something else, I would absolutely 100% send you to Hadestown. It's one of the best shows, genuinely.
Very good. Yeah, that's cool. I'll keep those in mind. I definitely want to make it to the East Coast, where you're doing a lot of work right now on your upcoming album. Do you know when you're going to drop it, Morgan?
My album, I am planning on dropping it at the beginning of next year.
Okay.
But for the single, Better Left Unsent, that's going to be coming out later this month. And that's going to be kind of my focus for the rest of this year up until the holidays are over.
Very cool. And will we see the hit song from The Rise of Red, Get Your Hands Dirty, on that album, Morgan?
Well, naturally, if Disney gives me the rights to it. If I'm like, hey, guys, I think I could just move this over here.
Oh, that'd be cool. That'd be fantastic. Very good. What was it like working, on a Disney set when you did Descendants: The Rise of the Red? It was a huge thing for the House of Mouse, for you. You guys crushed it. I mean, there was 90 million views on the trailer in 10 days. It's breaking streaming viewership records for Disney Plus. What was that like, that experience of not only doing it before you knew it was going to be big, but kind of looking at it afterwards now?
Oh, my gosh. I mean, well, our entire cast was a fan of the original trilogy, and so us being on set kind of just felt like we were playing around in the same world that we grew up with, Mm-hmm. And so I think just seeing all the news on how big it's gotten and people's interest in our movie in particular felt so unreal because I don't know, we're touching such a beloved franchise, and we're kind of making it our own and delving into new stories and new worlds, and that can be really daunting, but it was so rewarding to do it with my cast because it just felt like a playground of things, and it didn't even feel like work half the time. And now that the movie's doing so well, and I know so many kitty boppers who love it and who love Red, and who love Get Your Hands Dirty, it honestly, it makes me just so happy, and I just love what I do that much more.
Very cool. What was it like to rub elbows with that cast? It's an amazing cast. You got Joshua Colley, Brandy, Rita Ora, China Ann McClain, Kylie Cantrell. You mixed it up with some heavyweights there, Morgan. That was impressive.
Thank you. I mean, it was definitely just so cool to be surrounded by so many talented people, and especially Brandy and Rita Ora. They're both people I look up to heavily. So, yeah, that was like incomparable. I don't even know how to process that still to this day. But, yeah, everybody was just so inspiring. I feel like I've left the set feeling so inspired and rejuvenated artistically.
Did you, try to grab Brandy at any moment where you guys had free and ask, just pick her brain for any piece of advice you'd have? Because she's a legend in music and acting and everything going back to the early 90s, whether you watched, Moesha, or you caught her albums, or you caught her great rendition of Cinderella back in the day. That must have been really cool. Did you just say, hey, Brandy, I've got this album coming up? Did you ask her what to do, how to do it, advice, all those things?
No, I didn't get the chance to ask her about my music at that time, but I just remember kind of observing her from afar and taking it as like my own personal masterclass, because also at the same time, whenever we were around each other, I was so focused on making sure that my younger Cinderella made sense with hers, that it didn't even cross my mind to ask about music. I was just like, oh my God, Brandy's right there. I hope I do okay with being Cinderella.
Oh, it's good to know that stars get starstruck too. She's Morgan Dudley. She's Disney Plus's Descendants, Rise of the Red breakout star. She's having a great year. What was that like? Because there's got to be a lot of pressure, because Disney is such a beloved name worldwide. You had to step into the role of one of the most famous Disney princesses. Did that bring extra weight? Did that make you think about it? Did you kind of put a little more effort into creating a version of Cinderella that you were proud of and that everybody else could be proud of as well?
Absolutely, because same reason. I was like, there's been so many Cinderellas, one, and two, she's such a classic. And Brandy's Rodgers and Hammerstein Cinderella was something that I grew up with, and so many fans are going to be returning to watch our movie just because of that. And so there was definitely a lot of avenues that I had to think about when creating my Cinderella. But at the end of the day, I was like, I think the only way that I could make myself proud and everybody else proud is if I really make it my own and really connect it to me and like what makes me an individual and what makes me special and what me, Morgan, can bring to this new version of Cinderella. And I think it ended up turning out so well. I'm so happy with how it turned out. And yeah, I just love my Cinderella. I love her.
Yeah, it was a great performance. You were absolutely spectacular. I had a blast watching it with my family, and it's such a wonderful film series that has a little something for everybody, no matter the age of who's ever watching. It really does bring a lot of threads from a lot of different eras together. So great job on that. I do want to know, though, is Cinderella your favorite Disney princess, Morgan?
Is Cinderella my favorite Disney princess? Well, I guess she has to be now. Brandy's Cinderella was always my favorite, but if we're going to talk about the animated princesses, my two favorite princesses were Mulan when I was a younger kid, and as soon as Tiana stepped on the scene, I was like, hey, girl, I love you.
Very good. Yeah, I'm a Jasmine guy myself. Aladdin, one of my favorite movies, so I feel you. Yeah, definitely. I got a shirt actually on right now that's got Jasmine on, and it says Girl Boss. It's absolutely fantastic. So I appreciate your performance. My daughter appreciated your performance. It was really fun.
Oh,
yeah.
thank you.
No problem. Is that kind of rewarding when you get to make a piece of entertainment something that resonates with generations like that?
Yeah, that's my favorite part about all of this. I talk about it constantly just because when I was growing up, I watched DComs, and that was what inspired me to want to be a performer, like Shake It Up, Ant Farm, Descendants, High School Musical, Camp Rock, all those really musical pieces of art that were also embedded in acting and dancing, like inspired me to do what I do now. And so it always just makes me, I'm a Cancer, so I also get emotional, and it really makes me emotional to think that there could be people watching our movie and seeing something in my Cinderella or me or my performance that could inspire them to hopefully pursue their dreams. That just is the best part about this all.
I think you're very inspiring. I do know that my daughter was super excited that I got to talk to you today. She wants to hear this as soon as it's done. So I appreciate, again, the opportunity. She's Disney Plus's Descendants, The Rise of the Red breakout star, Morgan Dudley. We're talking to her about her huge year. Yeah, is it cool being part of the Disney family? That's probably a stupid question, but it feels like you're now in this exclusive club where you probably have some phone numbers and maybe some group chats where you can access. I don't know. I'd love to see you in a Marvel movie eventually, Morgan. I'm not quite sure if it's in the cards, but what's that like, being part of that kind of family, if you will, a family of amazing people, talented people, entertainment icons, and more?
Well, hey, first of all, it can definitely be in the cards for Marvel. I see you. But
yeah, I'm a superhero guy, girl. I'm a superhero guy.
I love it. No, I genuinely, I don't know. I think everybody can look at Disney from the outside and kind of see, this environment that they create for all of their creatives and actors and artists to be able to foster, this family, friendship, aspect. I mean, we have a million group chats for Rise of Red, but even, we had our D23 event recently, and we were all, in this waiting room, and I got to meet, Seth Rogen, and I got to meet the Percy Jackson cast, and everybody's just so wonderful, and it's just crazy. I don't know how else to explain it. It's wow, we're all just here doing the same thing, and we have one goal, which is to create art and make it for people of the world to see, and we get to do that together. And in this kind of happy Mickey Mouse fantasy land, there's a better. I think that's the best way to describe it, honestly.
Yeah, I like that one. That suits it perfectly for sure. D23 is fantastic. I haven't been, but it's on my bucket list. I've been to quite a few Comic-Cons. What's it like being on the other side of that? Because I'm sure you've been a fan before, but as you transition from fan to creator, what is it like when you're on stage at, D23s and more, looking out in the crowd at all of those eager faces, just hanging on your every word?
Well, you know what? It was so crazy because I've always been a Disney fan, but I guess because I'm from Georgia, I didn't know about D23. I'm not really in the know of conventions in general, and so we did VidCon too, but D23, those are my first conventions ever. And I was wow, and I just couldn't believe the overwhelming amount of support of the people who showed up, dressed up in our costumes, and not just us, other Disney type of things, and just seeing how excited everybody was. I was feeling the excitement. I remember on the last day I was walking around to all of the D23 booths, and I was just going through, and it felt magical. I was just wow, I really get to experience this with all these people that, we might not know each other, but we share this interest. I think it's really interesting. I know that I'm on the other side of it, but I'm just as much of a fan of it, if that makes sense. I'm a fan of the movie that we made, and I'm a fan of my cast. And so I just felt like I was sharing that with everybody.
I think that's why your performance was so successful. That's what I feel now that you said that. That makes sense. You being a big fan, you put that much love and devotion and energy into your role because you know where that comes from, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Absolutely. Are you into cosplay yourself, Morgan? Do you do any of that? I know you're a bit of a fashionista, kind of a budding one. You like to throw looks together. You throw them on social media and more, Morgan. But is that kind of a pet project, a passion project? Fashion, is that kind of one of your bigger hobbies that you'd like to see kind of grow?
You know what? It is definitely a hobby that I have, and I actually do a lot of character-inspired makeup things completely alone. And it's so crazy because I've never told anyone that. You just read my mind or something crazy because I love cosplay. I love watching cosplayers. I I wonder if I'd ever step out into the world and cosplay. That might be a different conversation, but
Well,
might me nervous.
it would give you kind of like some anonymity if you went there. Say you had a good makeup and you had like a great mask, and you could go in there and kind of blend in. I've seen other celebrities and superstars as well, like yourself, do just the same. Maybe that'll be in the cards?
Maybe. I think that you've planted a really good idea in my head, and if it happens, you can be the one to thank yourself.
Oh.
Pat yourself on the back.
Thank you. All right. Yeah. You can find her at Morgan Dudley on Instagram, TikTok as well. Where do you spend most of your time, social media wise? Are you more of a TikToker? Do you do it for the gram? What are you feeling?
Oh, I'm a TikToker all the way. I go live pretty much all the time to chat with fans and to share information about music or just whatever people want to talk about. I love TikTok.
Yeah, it's just a lot of fun. I spend too much time on it myself, to be honest, because you can just sit there and doom scroll.
Algorithm.
Yeah, doom scroll and have a great time. It's a darn good time, absolutely. She's Morgan Dudley. She is the Disney Plus Descendant Rise of the Red breakout star. Yeah, that's awesome. That's really cool to hear about fashion. Do you want to walk in shows? Do you want to be a face of somebody? Do you just like wearing clothes? Do you get all of that sent to you from the people like, the Louis Vuittons of the world, the Yves Saint Laurents? Do you get any of that?
I mean, I'm totally available for it. I love wearing clothes. I love fashion. And honestly, it's been something that was recently inspired. You talked about my cast. Miss Kylie Cantrell, she's really a fashionista. And I remember watching her stunt on set every day. I was inspired. I was like, ooh, that looks really cute. Let me see what I can do. And I've always loved fashion, but that something in me was really inspired by seeing her kind of always putting something cute together, even if it was casual. And ever since then, and since meeting stylists and all that, I've really grown a love for clothing and fashion and styling. And right now it's New York Fashion Week, and so I've been getting to go see all the shows. I actually have one today after this interview, so I'm so
fun.
excited.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do that stuff. You do charity events. You did that charitable event with Casa LA, the Reimagine Gala. Do you like spending your time and giving your time to charities like that? Is that kind of one of your, things that are close to your heart when you get to do that?
I do, especially when it comes to the younger generation and kind of any way that I can offer my art to support the younger generation. I think that they're some of the most important people in our society and what we want the world to look like in the future. And so, yeah, I was performing for Casa LA, which is such a great organization. And recently I joined Saving Our Daughters with, oh my gosh, I'm not sure where they're based. I think here in New York City. And it's just been so rewarding.
Yeah, we love charity work. We actually have a CASA chapter out here in Western Colorado that does so much work for people. We do here at our media group. We do a ton of work for them, whether it's, charity galas, charity balls, or just showing up and doing fundraisers for them. So I really was really excited to see that kind of in your background and say, hey, we could relate about that because it is so very rewarding. And, when you have a voice like yours, I think you can go and you can kind of share that amazing power you have in your vocal cords with people for charity. It's fantastic. Was there a point in time where you knew, when you were younger, that you were like, oh, yeah, this is what I want to do. I've got it. I'm speaking from the diaphragm, all of those stuff. When did it click for you, Morgan, is I guess my question.
For singing, I never had an aha moment. I've always sang. It's just kind of been in my DNA. I grew up, I used to tell my mom I sounded like Michael Jackson, and Lord knows that was not true. But
that's great.
I was confident.
Good.
But I did have a click moment, I guess, specifically for theater and film, I remember. And it was in high school when I did a production of The Wiz. And I was 16 years old, and I played Glinda. Oh. And I remember I just loved the stage aspect of it. We had recently, earlier in the year, had somebody from the Lion King National Tour just visit our high school and give us notes literally on
Wow.
our performance. And I took her notes, and I remember being like, oh my gosh, like this feels so nice just to be up here and really be living in this character through my voice and through my movements and through the scene. And that really clicked for me that like, oh, I think I like more than just singing. I love telling stories.
Yeah, you can tell. Definitely when you see you do anything, you can tell that love translates through the screen right there. And what do you take from that kind of stuff, all of your experience as you kind of get ready to launch your solo music career? Obviously, you have your inspirations, you have your, the big ones that you kind of like want to mimic, if you will, like the Michael Jacksons of the world, the Ariana Grandes, as you mentioned. What is it you kind of take into your creative process from all of that when you're getting ready to put out your debut album?
I really write my music and want my music to be from the heart, because I feel like in a lot of ways other artists' music has made me feel less alone. And so, I think acting in a similar way, like you're telling these stories and people can like see that character and see themselves in that character. Music is the same way, in which you listen to it and you're like, oh, I really, really relate to these words. This melody is really doing something for me. And so as I create my album and as I start to put things out, I just always remember that I'm doing this for people like me and people who struggled with the things I struggled with, people who need to be lifted up in the ways that I need to be lifted up, and everything that's coming from my heart. I know that I'm not alone, and I just can't wait to meet other people who relate and are able to connect with my music. Like, that's what I do it for, and then just so excited to see how it all turns out.
Yeah, that's fantastic. You've got to be very excited. What's that kind of excitement and experience like as you get to represent for, up and coming Black women, women in general, the community there? That is very rewarding right there. Just to be somewhat kind of a budding icon in that realm, it's got to be very satisfying, Morgan.
I'm so excited, especially, I hope to open like some more doors and allowing all types of people to explore all kinds of genres of music. I know that, sometimes we can stereotype and pigeonhole people into certain genres depending on what they look like or what we expect to see from them. And I'm hoping that I can help. There's so many people who do it too, like SZA's one. Like, she really is somebody who explores like all these different types of genres. And I just hope to kind of follow in her footsteps as a fellow Black woman and kind of showing people from my community like, hey, we can do anything. We don't have to, we can express ourselves in so many different types of ways.
SZA's fantastic. That's great. Is that what you're listening to right now? I'm sure you got so many people on your playlist, but SZA's fantastic. Oh, yeah. Her is so good. Is there anybody else that we maybe don't know of that, superstar Morgan Dudley could tell us about?
Oh, my gosh. Well, besides SZA and her, and besides, I'm going to throw in Chappell Roan in there because I love her, too.
Yeah.
There's an artist that I love. Her name's Jensen McCrae. And she's not unknown by any means, but her lyrics are just the best thing I've ever heard. I've never heard writing like hers. And I would still consider her like an indie artist. Like, she's not unknown, but sometimes I bring her name up and I'm like, y'all haven't heard of Jensen McCrae? So I'm going to put her on. To anybody listening out there, Jensen McCrae is the one to listen to. She makes like folk music, and it's just so good. Fantastic.
Speaking of Chappell Roan, are you doing the Hot to Go dance, HOTTOGO? Are you doing it? Are you doing it like on TikTok, doing any choreography there?
It literally doesn't matter where I am. If Hot to Go is on, I'm doing the dance. I've done it in stores. I've done it at Korean barbecue. And, it hasn't hit TikTok yet, but maybe I'll put out a video because I do have a video of me doing Hot to Go at a Korean barbecue restaurant with one of my other castmates. We just kept going back and forth because it kept playing.
I love it. Yeah, that sounds like that one's going to go viral for sure, Morgan. That's fantastic. Hope to see it very, very soon. Hope to hear you as well very, very soon. You've got your new single coming out here later this month. You've got Get Your Hands Dirty from The Rise of Red, the Disney Plus Descendants movie. That's super fun, right? When you get into the lyric writing process, it's hard. I've tried to write a song myself before. I haven't done it. It's one of the hardest things I think that artists can do because it's such a unique form of art. What do you approach it with? How do you kind of tighten it up and figure out what you want to communicate, how you want to communicate it when you are writing song lyrics?
Oh, that's such a great question. Because first of all, when I first started writing, it was very poetic, but poetic in a way in which only I was understanding what I meant. And other people would be like, Morgan, what does this mean? And I was like, you're right. If I'm going to write songs, I want other people to understand what I mean. And so I try to not overthink it is the biggest piece of advice that has helped me with writing songs. I feel like all of my favorite songs that I've written are very straightforward. You don't have to be the most intricate lyricist. It's just, does it make sense, and is it telling a story, and is it catchy? And the more you start doing that, the easier it does become. I bet you could do it. You just gotta let yourself be free on that paper and let yourself make mistakes. And so many times I'll be writing trash lyrics, and then I'll be like, oh, I just thought of a good lyric.
Yeah, okay. I'll keep that in mind. Thank you. That's great advice. Absolutely. I don't know if you can tell me, but how many songs do you have planned for the new album coming out next year?
I don't know if I want to tell you.
Okay. You keep it a surprise. That's fine.
Hush for now.
Okay. That's fantastic. That's going to be great. But when your first single drops here in September, I'm sure you're going to be rocking and rolling through kind of all of that and doing that and getting ready to perform. Do you have live shows coming up? Are you going to be on stage doing your new album as soon as the single drops and as you get ready to do the press and do everything that the new album kind of certainly requires as you get ready to put it out there in the world?
Yes, I cannot wait to set up some live shows in New York City, because that's where I am right now. And so I'm in the process of figuring out all the venues that I want to perform at and opening up for some of my other fellow artist friends who've been doing it for a while. Since, it's just, right now it's just a single, so I may have a couple of my songs sprinkled in there and some covers, but I'm just really excited to share my music and share it with my artist community as well here in New York.
Oh, we'll be sharing it with Western Colorado for sure. We'll be all over it when it pops because, with kind of the meteoric rise you're on right now, it's kind of hard not to. She's Disney Plus Descendants, the Rise of the Red breakout star, Morgan Dudley. Get ready to get that music here in September of 24. A little bit later, it is coming out. Who are your main influences, I want to ask, when you do perform? You mentioned Michael Jackson. You have Alanis Morissette. There's such a wide range, Morgan, of people you draw from. Are there any other people you look at and you say, this is who I want to be, but my own version of it as you do perform, sing, dance, and more with all of your amazing talents?
Yes. I love Ariana Grande, of course, but somebody that I really, really look up to stage performance-wise is the queen herself, Beyonce. Oh. I went to her Renaissance concert. I also went to her On the Run tour. And there is just something about how intentional she is with everything she does on stage and yet how genuine she remains that inspire me so much. I'm like, there's a meaning behind every single thing that she does and puts on this stage. And that's something that really inspires me when it comes to the performance of it alone. My genre is not similar to Beyonce's, but just her as an artist really, really inspires me.
Morgan, that's a great choice. I don't blame you at all. She is the queen for a reason. Absolutely. It's hard to remember that you're just 20 years old talking to you, Morgan. You sound savvy. You sound experienced. Is it interesting to be such a young person in a genre, in an industry that can be dominated by all sorts of different types of people at all different ages? How do you keep your level head? How do you keep your self-esteem? How do you keep your maturity, even though you're only 20 years old?
Well, thank you, first of all.
Yeah.
I think that the biggest thing for me is not being afraid to speak up for myself, but also being open-minded when dealing with people who've been doing this longer than I have. I am very, like, if somebody is giving me advice and giving me pointers based off of their experience and I feel like it applies to me, even if I disagreed at the beginning, I'm going to take their advice, because if I trust them as a person, they're going to want to see me succeed and see me grow, and I don't want to do something dumb just because I'm inexperienced, you know? But at the same time, I also like to honor my art and honor, you know, how I feel. And again, the reason I do this is because I want people to connect to my music and connect to me and for us to share it together. And so if at any point I feel like the goal and the reason is being lost, then I always bring it back. And I come one with myself, and I'm like, why am I doing this? I think that is the biggest piece of advice I could give, is your why. Why did you join the industry in the first place? And then everything else just kind of falls into place, you know?
Yeah, well, that's great advice. Again, it's hard to remember you're 20 years old, Morgan. Fantastic. This has been so wonderful. Thank you so much for your time. She's Morgan Dudley. You can check her out. Check it out right now. It's streaming on Disney Plus. Descendants: The Rise of the Red. It's massive. You will not be disappointed. Get ready to check it out. The new album coming out in early next year. The single releases sometime later September. Morgan, I'm sure you'll let us know on the socials, on everywhere else. Check out Get Your Hands Dirty. That's her hit song from the film. It was so fantastic, Morgan. So absolutely, wonderful and very humbling for you to come on and be there and do this with us. We appreciate it so much. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Max. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
I hope you do, too. I hope you enjoy some Fashion Week as well up there in New York City.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I will.